Hello and welcome to our waking dream on January 25th, 2026, otherwise known as the eve on which Neptune moves into Aries. So tomorrow, Neptune moves into Aries. For those of you listening on podcast, you can't see that I'm doing a little celebration dance because it means this round of stirring of the deep karmic patterns that Neptune only can do at the last degree of the zodiac is complete. It's complete. We have until around Valentine's Day, though, with Saturn still in Pisces. So we're still closing up last chapters of the structure that carried the karma. Saturn's a planet of structure. And so we might have some sort of heavy, clunky karmic patterns still for the next couple weeks. This round of karmic patterns that got brought up to the surface. Patterns from your past that really feel like they're repetitive and you might not know how to get out of them. That's the sort of karmic, these relational patterns or career patterns or patterns we're seeing at a global level that just feel kind of gross and heavy now. That's what we're wanting to shift out of. And with Neptune shifting into Aries, that is the first of the go buttons for this upcoming spring. Because the next few weeks, we have one after another shift in the outer planets that allow for a mobilization and movement in a very different direction. So that's exciting. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about this. Last week, we talked about how there's now an Aquarius party going on. We've got the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Pluto, and now Mars in Aquarius. So there's a real emphasis on Aquarius, and it comes through the reckoning of what happens when a planet or the sun or moon touches Pluto on its way through the zodiac. It calls upon another reckoning. And so we've got that going on simultaneously. So I'll simplify this, but it's essentially, it's time that we step back into our passion and start to reclaim what our passion is, our authentic heart's desire. What is your authentic heart's desire? Or what are the desires? You'll have a lot of them. In your dream of all dreams, what would you imagine? That's what this Neptune shifting into Aries is, a chance for you to dream, for us to dream or reimagine your world, our world, the world. It's a time to refresh that which your soul is here to bring into form. That's Neptune in Aries. Soul, Neptune, bring into form in that first burst of life. That's Aries. So, since we have Neptune shifting into Aries tomorrow, and we've got a whole bunch going on in Aquarius, I've been looking at the crossover between Aquarius and Aries to identify the similar underbellies or shadows or what could turn into tethers. And one of those is around know-it-all. I know. That's Aries' phrase is I know. And then Aquarius is a know-it-all in the sense that it can see the big picture and it defines societal norms. So there's a real strong know-it-all in Aquarius as well. Another way to look at this, we've got a really strong I know presence in Aries, which we want. We want that claimed authorship in your life, in my life, in our lives. Yes, to landing in I'm here and I know. And I am fiery about my knowledge. That's an Aries is I am here and it's on fire. I've got a lot of Aries in me and it's a wonderful, I love it for trailblazing. I love it for leading. I love it for getting great ideas. However, it is a fast and furious sign. And so we have to turn down the passion and the speed if it's not quite landing yet in life. And so to really be aware of how your passions have changed and to take note, to really sense into that at the same time. So Aries would be about my will, my individuated will. Now that I've separated from all that is and dropped down on planet Earth to inhabit a body, it's my will. Well, with Aquarius, we're looking at more of our will or thy will or universal will, that which passed the test of time, that which, if we applied globally or galactically even, would work for all. So this combination between my will and my passion and how my passion has changed and really holding and being adamantly in my passion, that coupled with really examining my own or your own ethics, like the governing principles. What does that mean? It means who I think's right, who I think's wrong, what I think is right or wrong. Societal norms we can't usually see as much unless we leave our culture, because culture is implicit, it's implied. It's part of our programming. It's subconscious. So we have to start to question our own and our collective subconscious programming as exemplified by our lives and the systems in our lives, like governmental systems, school systems, medical systems, business systems, all that. Our relational systems are governed and directed by these unspoken, sometimes unspoken agreements that we have about reality of what's right, what's wrong, what's truth, what's not truth. So with all of this happening, especially with Pluto and Aquarius, all this happening in Aquarius, mixed with Aries, it creates a different picture than if it was just Neptune shifting into Aries. Does that make sense? Okay. So the questions. Practice number 1. Always building the internal witness. What are you passionate about? If you had all the money, all the friends, all the followers, or whatever you perceive that you need, what would you do? What would you bring to the world? And this is at a very deep, it's a heart's desire. What is your authentic heart's desire right now, and how's that changed? Secondarily, how are your ethics? Like, how are your ethics reflected to you in your culture, in your family? Like, do you agree with the governing principles of your life, and what are they? You know, what are the subtle agreed upon values and ideas of what's right and wrong and how you do things in life? It's time to question that. And this time of questioning is just beginning, really. If we get into next year's, 2026, starting in March at spring equinox, if we get into that, this coming year's astrology, there's a lot of change and a lot of questioning of ethics, how we're communicating, how we're being together in humanity. We, the people, the whole globe. So starting that investigation internally is advantageous. Like, where are there areas in your life in which your ethics could use a little tune-up? It's a question to ask. And who is acting unethically, wrong, or they shouldn't do that in the world, in your world? So that person over there, or that business, or that school system, or our world, that government over there, that leader over there. And that's an entrance into your own ethics, is looking for ways in which you disagree with others' ethics. You following? Okay. So practice number 2, I suggest, is about rewriting your story as the hero or heroine of your or own story. That what if all this resilience it's taken to get to this point, the work, everything that you've done to this point is here to launch you into something you could only begin to imagine, because it's so amazing. We need some of this style of rewriting right now, of reimagining. So the steps with that. Step 1, to review your life up till now from a perspective of a fairy tale that ends well. What if, just what if, why not play what if, right? If our imagination creates reality. What if this story ends well? What story? Whatever story you are in and focused on, in your own life, in your professional life, or in the world. What if the story ends well, and that your current passion creates an arrow, a direction that you're going, and you imagine and write and talk about best case scenarios? Like, what if this is the beginning of something so fantastic? Like, say you've had financial problems and health problems, and that's been really up for you. Well, imagine what it's like to be super, super wealthy and healthy. What's that like? What if the story changes and our imagination is guiding it, and we're just exiting a big karmic stirrup from the bottom of the karmic cauldron, and we're tipping over into an era where we can dream and be more courageously? Like, what if? So rewrite your story from a place that names your gorgeous resilience, or what you've learned as lessons on your trip to planet Earth. Name and celebrate this in a way that allows for you to courageously dream again. Big, the dreams, when I say big dreams, it's big dreams for your heart, that your heart feels the biggest softening and the biggest love and the sweetest when you daydream about whatever it is that your passion is. And if your passion was fully supported by the world, people, money, time, what would you run and do? What would you do with it? That's something this week to explore. Practice number 3 is a movement piece. Have you all heard of power postures, right? I feel like I heard of those in like the 90s or the early 2000s. Power postures where you make you're really, really powerful move. Like you stand with your arms in the air and you are like a 5-year-old that just won a race. The power move that you're assuming before it takes place. You assume the power position before the board meeting or whatnot. And that shifts your physiology and it shifts how people relate to you. Well, Aries could do with a good power move. Like, it's almost like a power move dance, but it could just be like holding a power move for a long time. Whatever feels most authentic and courageous and clear and exciting to you. So for those of you listening, I don't know what you're doing. If you're walking, do a power move really quick. If you're driving, what does a power move in the car look like? If you're watching this with me, let's do it together. And it's the yes. Okay, so if you are celebrating your life's journey, even the times where everything fell apart, actually, especially the times where everything fell apart. Like, what if our success was measured by the amount of mistakes we made on planet Earth? We rewrite the story so the karma becomes a lesson. And what you're doing instead is jumping into the next story. As Neptune and then Saturn shift into Aries. And it's guided with a sigh by your passion. So if we write the story with possible outcomes beyond our wildest imagination, but that you plant them in your wildest imagination, like either this or something better, and that becomes a conversation with the divinity that is you, that is us. Okay, I'd couple that. So we've got rewriting your story. We've got yes. I'm just going to add a tiny bit more. It is, I invite my will to soften into divine will, universal, or thy will be done. Whatever languaging feels best to you, with the purpose to align your own individuated free will with the universal will. So there's a direct right relation with you and all that is going forward. Because that's the only piece with Aries that I've had to deal with again and again in my life I've got a lot in Aries, is I'll get these like turbocharged ideas with a real press go. Yet if it's slightly off, if my will is slightly off of thy divine will, universal will, which it oftentimes is because I'm a little human down here, then it comes back. It comes back to me and it slams me because I align this life with universal will. And that's, I think, what's necessary is the reunification of my or your individuated will with our will, and to allow our brain to change and our ethics to become more porous and changeable, so that we can receive upgraded ethics that allow us to move regeneratively and restoratively together as people and planet and galaxy. Okay, that's it for today. Happy Neptune's shifts into Aries Eve. Please, as always, review. I forget to say this at the beginning. Review this, like, share it, help give it wings, because I keep showing up and I'll keep showing up in service to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Till next week.
Thank you for being a part of our community here at Our Waking Dream. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Fill my cup and let it overflow. Let it overflow with love.